What's on the silver screen? I got some takes you wouldn't believe. Popmosis Film.
Alrighty, and welcome to Popmosis Film. We are no longer in Halloween month. Halloween can't be forever, but you know what? That's okay, because this pick that we're talking about today, this movie means so much to us, not only because it's absolutely one of the best MCU movies, which I think most people can agree, but also it hits so hard now, because not only did we get this movie to be culturally impactful and allow us to really understand a whole other side of what a hero is. We lost our king and hero very recently. This is about 2 months after of what happened, but however, with Halloween, like, you know, we still had those Halloween plans, and we were just like, and I needed to. I think I just needed a process. So today we're talking about Black Panther, after our loss of our king T'Challa, and the amazing actor, and oh my god. So anyway, joining me today is my co-host Josiah. Josiah, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, as Tyler said, we wanted to do a Marvel movie in this slot. We talked about a lot of different ones, and then when Chadwick Boseman passed, it was just obvious what we had to do. This was a very strong possibility anyway, just because of the movie that it is. But so I'm just it was this is the first time I've watched it since he passed, so it was an emotional experience, and I didn't expect it to be. I'd seen like Endgame after he passed, and that's very intensely emotional. Like when he comes back again, that moment, man, like I was weak. I like it already gets me, but now it's just the level is deeper. So it's funny how, you know, the reason movies matter is because it's filled with real people that like we can, you know, that touch us in some way, that reach us in some way, and it's just it's just really very powerful. The impact is just immense, and we'll talk about it at length. But
of course, you
know, we wanted to do this as a tribute to Chadwick Boseman specifically, as a real life hero that played one of the best on screen heroes, and that's why this is a special episode. So,
and Paul's not able to be here with us because education is a thing and very important, and we didn't want to take that away from him. So, good luck, future Paul. I hope you got an A. But we have such a good guest, Josiah. I'm so happy with our guest. He's already spoken a little bit. He's awesome. If you watched our Black Lives Matter stream earlier in June, we had talked about Into the Spider-Verse, which is my favorite superhero film still today. And you know what? I'm gonna have the guest introduce himself because he's just that awesome. Who are you, awesome guest?
Me? I don't know. I just snorted a bump and now I'm here. I'm joking. No. I don't even know how I got here. I was playing on the monkey bars with my pants down, and now I'm here in the middle with a gaming chair and a hard kombucha that I drank already.
You know, I heard that was actually going to be like the beginning of Thor, and they were just like, the kombucha was too much. I'm just kidding. No,
the kombucha was it was some foul witchcraft in this can. It's salutations, y'all. I'm JP Brown, and I'm here. I'm a stand-up comic, gamer, and all this other stuff. And rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman, man.
Absolutely.
Holy shit. It didn't seem real, bro.
Yeah, it really didn't. Because like there was all that thing that were like, oh, he's losing weight for a role. And I was like, okay, I've seen
that's what I thought too.
I've seen people do that. We saw 50 Cent do that, you know? Like that was like,
and do we even need to mention what's his name? Christian Bale for The Machinist?
I forgot his name.
And then before he then got huge for Batman, like back to back those roles.
and then they were like, okay, you're way too big for Batman. You need to cut down.
And then he gained like 1 million pounds for the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, American Hustle. Like he went, like he's done everything.
Did he gain it? I thought he was like in a fat suit.
No, that was real.
That man
I consulted him on that role. I was like, this is how you gain weight, buddy. You have 2 kids and you can't work out or eat healthy because you have no time. And he's like, oh, okay.
You can't run at the lighting people in a film set anymore.
Exactly. And you got to eat nothing but fried rice for breakfast. That's it. That's all you get. Fried rice and tang.
It is.
But but yeah, no. Exactly though. Like the news came so sudden, and now everybody, of course, is like kind of freaking out about a sequel for this film that we're talking about today, which which honestly is like the hardest thing for me to even fathom or even think of. Like, of course I have some opinions because like you can't just like not think about it, but also like I don't like thinking or talking about it, I guess. But anyways,
yeah.
I'm talking too much about it. Josiah, get us the lowdown of the production of this film.
Yeah, so let's backtrack a little bit with because we're going to talk about the character of Black Panther, who was invented. He was created by Jack Lee. Oh my gosh, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I actually wrote in my notes.
He was invented by Jack Lee.
I wrote in my notes Jack Lee. That's the problem here.
When you combine them.
It sounds like the synopsis for a John Woo flick. It's like he was invented by Jack Lee in a basement in mid-Chinatown.
I'd watch that movie. We could talk about that in the next episode. But it was Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
After Jack Lee injected 30 cc's of vibranium into himself, he becomes
right. There's a white dove flying in somewhere in the movie somewhere.
That is a requirement in slow motion white dove at that.
Jack Lee must find the murderer of this, or the murderer of this terrible crime, heinous crime.
We haven't even mentioned Stan Kirby yet, so. But
right. Is that like Mario? It's like Mario and Luigi Mario. It's like Kirby and then Stan Kirby. Never mind.
So, Fantastic Four number 52. In the issue was dated July 1966, and that was the cover date. So that means it came out at least a few months before that, because the month always told you this is like the last month it should be on the newsstands. That's how those worked. And so, the Black Panther Party formed in October of that year. So it's kind of a weird coincidence. In the same year, you had the Black Panther Party and the Black Panther character, not related. It was just a coincidence that they both took that name.
Yeah, so even back then when they were going through all that, they still needed, they needed more heroes to look up to back then. It's about time finally.
Yeah, no,
right?
totally. Yeah, that's this exactly. And even at the time in the 60s, if you look at the comics, so he was the first significant. Not even like there were a few black characters, but he was the first black superhero.
Yeah,
and like he's really
one.
Yeah, legit, exactly. Like, and he. Shortly after, there was a couple more characters, like I believe I forget his Goliath came shortly after that, who was like the other Ant-Man. He's a black character, and then it wasn't until like 1969 that then Falcon came, and then like in the early 70s there was more, but it was even then there was still a stretch where it was Black Panther, like at least the only like real legit significant guy. And the real significant run for him in the comics was Christopher Priest and Mark Teixeira's in the late 90s with the Marvel Knights imprint. And a lot of the stuff that ended up in the film came from there. There's it's really like a bit of very early stuff in the Avengers with his origin story, and then that run that really influenced, at least I feel influenced the movie. We have to mention as well, in the mid 1990s, there was very close to being a Wesley Snipes version of this feature film. And Wesley Snipes was attached. They reached out to Mario Van Peebles. They reached out to John Singleton. And John Singleton sounds awesome, but I read an interview with Wesley Snipes, and he said John Singleton kind of couldn't separate the Black Panther name from the
party.
The party. So in his mind, it had to be civil rights related. And Wesley Snipes no, this needs to be a movie about Africa. The jewel of Africa is kind of how he described it, like this powerful secret nation of technology and this superhero. But John Singleton wanted to go in a different direction, and so that never happened. There was like 3 different writers involved. And I don't think they ever really truly had a director attached. It was always like Wesley Snipes and Sean.
Did they ever reach out to Spike Lee? Hopefully they didn't, because I didn't want to see like a scene where like King T'Challa is just sitting in a chair, like staring at the camera thinking, and it's like he's not even walking, but he's supposed to be walking. It's one of those Spike Lee-esque scenes where it's like he's just supposed to be walking, but it's like he looks like he's riding on a trolley or something, and he's just moving.
I would not, totally.
I would watch a Spike Lee like if they were like one of those what ifs. If Spike Lee were to do like one of the, oh my god, I would watch that so many times.
But you're coming off of like that's very possible, because Wesley Snipes was coming off of like Jungle Fever a few years before this, and that's one of like the big roles that cemented Wesley Snipes as a real actor too. He did all the action movies like Passenger 57 and Demolition Man, and he did all those roles, but you go back, he's a theater actor. Yeah, exactly. Money Train. Yeah. Right. So the trajectory, now we view Wesley Snipes very differently to his sort of the tax evasion thing, but at the time he was like a huge star. that couldn't get this movie off the ground because they just couldn't make superhero movies fly. And it was with Columbia, which was Sony, which then did Spider-Man a few years later. So as to the movie that we're actually going to talk about, that's a bit of the history.
A part of me is kind of happy that the Black Panther movie didn't happen because I love Blade so much. Like, what if we didn't get Blade?
No, and that's exactly. And the reason the Blade happened was because Black Panther didn't happen. Because he developed.
Maybe. I mean, granted, Blade Trinity does exist. I mean, unfortunately, but like, still, we got two good Blade movies.
No, exactly.
The third one was like, am I the only one that felt that way?
Oh, hell no! It's so bad.
Everyone felt that way.
Yeah.
Like people that made that movie felt that way. Like David Goyer, I think, the director, felt that way.
Yeah, I think Jessica Biel even apologized publicly for it. She's just like,
Triple H still hasn't apologized for it. Triple H still hasn't given any apology for that.
If I was Triple H, I wouldn't apologize to anybody for anything. If they're just like, hey, you need to apologize, he just flexes, and I'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Never mind. You were right. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Pedigree, you're out.
I mean, could you imagine like going like the Stone Cold Steve Austin or Booker T and just be like, listen, you need to apologize. Like, no, who has the balls to do that to, especially those two guys? Because God, Booker T.
It's okay.
Booker T is one of my favorites.
For Stone Cold, it'll be a little bit easier, right? Because all you got to do is just take off one of his knee braces and just like, weakness. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take off the other one. Let's see you hit me with a stunner now.
Hey, but that's also the guy. That's also the guy that was like paralyzed and finished the match against Owen Hart. So
yes, I remember that. That's
tougher than I could pretend to ever be.
That was so true. Because any other person would have been like, "Fuck this, I'm out," But he stuck it through. I mean,
and he won that match. He won the match, but he was paralyzed. So the Black Panther. It was released on February 16th, 2018, directed by Ryan Coogler, who is a USC alumnus like myself. And I was also going to mention he went to Cal State Sacramento, which is where Paul's from. I don't think Paul didn't go to that school. He went to Berkeley, I believe. But just, there's some closeness by, not really closeness, but, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever it is kind of thing. He directed Fruitvale Station, which is a brilliant film. Go check that out. Creed, and the best thing that he did with Creed was he got Stallone a nomination for an Oscar for One More Time as Rocky, and he deserved that Oscar nomination. And Stallone is sometimes one of those guys who has all this talent and usually just shows up because money, but that was one of those reminders of like, oh yeah, this guy when he's hungry can do something great.
He can still do it. He can still deliver. Yeah.
Exactly. It was written by Coogler with Joe Robert Cole. Produced, of course, by Kevin Feige. It's a Marvel movie. The production designer was Hannah Belcher, and the costume designer was Ruth Carter. I'm just mentioning those specifically, because there's other people in this production, but the costumes in the production design I felt was really significant because you have the constraints of a Marvel movie, so you have a certain look you have to achieve, but yet this was like beyond that in its own thing. Like every other Marvel movie looks the same by intention, and this is one where it's a Marvel movie, but yet it's better than that.
I didn't feel like it. Yeah, it almost felt like something that surpassed it, like superseded every other Marvel movie, because you got to see a type of Black culture that had never been seen before. Not only that, not so much hadn't been seen before, but a type of elevated Black culture that had never been seen before. You got, it wasn't something like, like Damon Wayans in a cape, like, hey, I'm Meteor Man. Shit, let me get some chicken and waffles. Like, it wasn't that dumb shit. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. Shout out to Damon Wayans. I respect him and all, but come on. I'm sorry, man. This was incredible to watch. Like, I saw it in the theater and I've watched it so many times. It was phenomenal to see this level of advancement and stuff that they had and that no one else knew about. And they were just, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like right down to the soundtrack and everything was just like, man.
Well, and specifically those two names that I mentioned, both won Oscars for this film.
As they should have.
Ludwig Göransson also won Oscar for the score. It got nominated for, I think, at least 6 Oscars, including...
I thought there was 8, yeah.
You might be correct. I'm just going off the top of my head. I know it won 3, including because the sound stuff, those Oscars it got, which of course whatever. But it got nominated for Best Picture, first comic book movie to ever do that, which is just unprecedented. Obviously, Dark Knight didn't get the nomination because that was when it was still 5 Best Picture nominees, and then they expanded it to
I don't think it deserved
up to
it
10.
anyway,
So, well, it would have got if there were. Here's the thing. It would have got the nomination.
I know.
Yeah, that's. Save that for the Dark Knight episode we'll do in like 2.5 years. But, it made the budget was $200 million. It opened at $202 million. It broke a Fandango pre-sales record. It broke a sales record on Fandango. In the US, it made $700 million. Worldwide, $1.3 billion this movie made. And I was watching an interview with Kevin Feige and Ryan Coogler talking about it. And they said that they wanted to make a movie that when it starts out, it seems like it's intentionally black, and by the end of the movie, it's incidentally black, meaning that you're so caught up in this story that you're seeing that you're riveted by it, that this world consumes you, these characters consume you, and you're just all in there. And the biggest reason for that, aside from Coogler, is Chadwick Boseman. And so again, starring him, there's other people in this movie that we'll talk about, but I usually list the lead cast, but I just want to here right now, we'll just say it stars Chadwick and no one else.
No, he definitely knocked it out of the park with that one. 42 reference because he was baseball. But anyway, no, he did such an incredible job with it, and the chemistry that he had, with every single one of his co-actors was just amazing to watch. Like he
genuine love and weirdness. Yeah, there's so much, and like we'll definitely talk about his performance and how he is the key to this film. And so with today, like there's 4 points I actually want to talk about. And the first one, I actually want to go back and talk about costume and world building and about this movie. So watching this movie again, so I actually watched this, I think the day after. So I watched this 2 months ago when we watched all the Marvel movies during the quarantine, and then we watched it, 3 months ago, and then 2 months ago, once we heard about his death, and then we watched it the next day or the day after that, and then of course again for this one. And I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. I love these worlds. I love watching movies where it is not our world, or if it is like completely different, or it's in the future, it's in the past, it's in whatever. And I have to say that this is the best world building I have seen in a single film. Not saying that this is my favorite world, because like, Tolkien was not a great person, but Middle Earth is just something is my favorite world, my fictional world. But this one, I have never seen a movie in a fictional land or in a different established land of what's happening right now that is where I got this lost, where I felt all these weird, different, basically I felt like I was a tourist, I guess, in this world. Everybody was dressed so amazingly, and there was so much care and so much love. There were so many different cultures coming together from the different tribes and stuff, and everybody, like, from like the use of colors of what people's different roles and stuff like that. It just, you understood everybody's placement in this country. You understood what kind of beliefs and stuff like that by just looking at them and not hearing them. Like the warriors, the tribe with the shields and stuff like that, who are very, to like the best friend who is very defensive, and he's like, I want to defend my country and blah 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 blah. I'm gonna go with who is essentially who is stronger, and who's also one of my favorite actors right now, and I really want him to work way more. There's with the other tribes, and then also M'Baku, who's just like my favorite character in the world. That's one thing about this movie that rings true for me, where the combat, where like that cliff that like now is like established, like it's whenever I think of a king that wants to be dethroned, I think, okay, are we getting this cliff? And like, no matter what the movie is, I'm just like, it's not gonna work unless I see this cliff and like those and like where everybody's standing on the rocks and stuff like that and having their own and having their own chants and stuff like that. I was like, it's that iconic, and it's just created this whole new fictional experience for me, and yet it's supposed to still take place in our Earth, and it's awesome. So anyways, I guess my question to you guys is, it's like with the costumes, with the production designing, with the creation of this country, this fictional country, like how does this stack up to other types of fiction that we have seen in film?
Oh boy, it's a hard comparison. Now that you think of it, because yeah, I'm a huge sci-fi fan as well. I love the Star Wars movies. I love Star Trek. I love shows like Altered Carbon, right? The Blade Runner movies. I fell asleep through it. Not that I didn't like them, but that's another story. But this one is just it's a different type of tech, for lack of a better term, because it's highly advanced yet still very much organic.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It has a very earthy tone to it. You know what I mean? It almost seems where it was they have their science department and stuff like that, and they have their they have the stuff to make it happen, but at the same time they still stuck with who they were as people, who they were as a culture and stuff, and they didn't let the technology aspect
overtake
them. Instead, they worked in harmony with it.
Yeah.
Right. If that's the best way I can put it. And it's a very different one when you compare that to to a movie where it's this technological and there's no sign of green leaves or shrubbery anywhere. And even the dogs are shitting microchips. And, well, maybe not shitting microchips.
I will watch that movie. Like,
it's like, my dog ate my iPad. But no, it's just
I walked my dog tonight. I'm like, oh, I gotta get a bag to get those microchips off the dog. Like, I left it in the house. It's like I'm just gonna kick some dirt over the microchips.
I hope that hard drive's okay, and I really need that one file.
As soon as it comes out of their sphincter, it's just all you hear. Bing.
Download complete.
It's like an old dial-up modem booting up when he goes.
Exactly. But yeah, it just doesn't. It's difficult for me to compare or equate it with other films, because I really do think it stands on its own. It really does feel like it stands on its own. And even that scene where they were both Deathbringer and Black Panther were fighting at the bottom in that subterranean level, but it's like that's like right in the earth, that's deep in the core, and it was like, yeah, you can't really compare or equate it to any other film. It really does stand alone.
I think you said it right. Like it's just so close to what our reality is. There's this little earthy, organic technological advancement to it, and so it's not like out of reach. Where like Star Trek, you're like, oh my god, my arm's off, and they're like, oh wait, there you go, there's a new arm.
Right.
Like, they're not doing that. Shuri can do a lot, but she can't do like Star Trek healing.
Exactly. I wish. I hope we get to that level soon. I really hope we do. But yeah, even the city, even the country of Wakanda itself, the way they made it, so they blended it with the earth as well, with their surrounding habitat and stuff. It was like it wasn't even detected on a radar. That's how deep it was. Like any sort of like they had highly advanced technology that was undetectable, right? So, I mean, I don't know of any other sci-fi movie or TV series that's ever done that.
Yeah. I also love like whenever you fly into Wakanda, it's just like that one little shack and that one guy who just kind of lives on the outskirts who just protects it. Like, I just love it. I don't know why. Like every time I see it, I'm like that guy probably has the best job and best life and best stories.
Yep.
Just how people
does,
wait,
sure.
yeah. It's like, wait, don't take one step. Why? Oh, that dirt is it's a little unstable. Just turn around and go that way. Like it's like
exactly. Oh my goodness. But yeah,
there's lions over there.
I think jumping up, well, there'd probably be Panthers. I think jumping off of what JP said, though, like it's hard to compare it to other movies because there's two things you have. You have the constraints of it being a Marvel movie. So again, like I said, with the costume design, it has to have a certain connection to that world, which is also why it's so successfully unique, and its success is so unique in terms of its aesthetic. Is it has to look like a Marvel movie, but yet it has to look like its own thing. Because you kind of think about we're as like a Western culture, we view things the way we view them because of how we've seen things, right? The way we see buildings, the way we interact with nature. Like it's different just for me how I interact with nature versus my wife, right? I grew up in the woods in Pennsylvania. Judy grew up in Southern California in Huntington Beach. So like if we're in the woods at night, I'm like whatever, and she's terrified just for that kind of difference. And
so you're used to you're used to real animals, and she's used to Southern Californian. So it's kind of
she's used to like a possum in the trash, and I'm like like a grizzly bear on the hillside. So not a grizzly bear. There's no grizzly bears in Pennsylvania. But,
we call them people from Burbank.
But just where you come from is how you see it differently. So this movie, it was literally starting from, okay, we can't see this world from how they develop technology, how they built their buildings, how they do everything the way we've done it. We have to think about how they would do it if they didn't have any of our influences culturally. Sure, he makes all those great like references to culture, like in American culture, like the joke at the very end when she's like, when we went to California, I thought we'd go to Coachella or maybe Disneyland. But like she gets those things, but yet that's like, just a reference outside of like the way the world she lives in is different than ours. That's why she understands how to relate to it, and it affects everything. And they condense so much in it visually to create that world. And I thought the way they did it really at the very beginning of the film was really smart. Because it starts with a very expositional kind of scene where it's like the history of Wakanda. And it's cool because a father is talking to his son. And you kind of assume it's T'Chaka to T'Challa. But it's not. You learn that later that it's like you realize later rather that it's not. You just assume that it is. And
Sterling K. Brown, like if I could hire one person to read me a bedtime story, I probably would hire him. That guy's voice is so great. Like I don't know what it is. He just has this amazing. Just sing me Little Boy Blue. I don't care. Or not sing. Tell me Little Boy Blue, and then you can go on wherever you need to
do. Tonight I read Penny the book, You Are My Cupcake, but I couldn't possibly do justice to what Sterling K. Brown would have done with it. We would have both been weeping at the end when we learned that you are my sticky little gumdrop. You are my cupcake. It would have been in tears. With me, it's like, whatever. I'm gonna go to sleep now, Dad.
Yeah.
But the beginning of that movie, right? You have the stuff like the sort of the beads coming up out of the ground and the technology, right? That shows you the history of Wakanda. And the cool thing is you think it's just this cool visual sort of thing to like opening sequence that you might see to like just get exposition out of the way, but it's building character because of the father-son dynamic for both fathers and sons, like a son without his father and a son that just at the beginning of the film just lost his father. And so that it's important in terms of that dynamic and character, but it's also important because it shows you the technology of Wakanda. Because there's a little bit later, just after that, when they're going on that raid, where the trucks and stuff are made out of the same stuff that showed us that scene earlier, and he picks up one of the trucks and he like kind of like is there tracking the movement so they can go get what's Lupita's character? The name escapes me. But they're gonna, retrieve her because of the passing, and even though she's on this mission, like T'Chaka has died, so it's like you have to go get her. But like you see the technology, and it's a way to like give us exposition for the story, give us character, show us the technology, all of this jammed into one thing at the beginning of the film where you're like, that's really smart because you don't even necessarily realize it, but you're getting all these visual cues, and you like obviously you learn about the tribes and all those things that are going to be important for the plot later, but it just condenses a lot really quickly. And then once you go to Wakanda, because that's one thing I loved about this movie, like my least favorite scene is, and it's not a bad scene, is when they're in the casino and stuff, and it's really good because it's like a Bond movie. But
I love that scene.
I just want to go back to Wakanda. Like
Yes.
that's what I mean by it. Like, it's not that it's a bad scene when I say it's my least favorite scene. I love that world so much that I want to be there. Like what you
Yes.
said, Tyler. But I want to like experience that world. It's like I want to go walk around there, and I want to spend as much time as possible in that world. And I think that's the achievement that they did, because there's a lot of times where I might be impressed by a world in the movie, but rarely do I want to hang out there. Like Blade Runner, for example, amazing, but I don't want to live in Los Angeles.
It's like, why is it always raining there? Like, what the hell is going on?
Snowing in LA? What?
And the raindrops like look like they're like 3 pounds each. Like they're just like a sludge more than it is like rain.
Yeah. Does the sun ever shine here? What's going on?
Yeah, the sun doesn't shine. There's Vangelis music's always playing, like wow.
And that was the thing when they announced Star Wars Land at Disneyland. I was like, I don't care. I want Wakanda. Like, oh man, like I still have not gone to Star Wars Land because I just don't care. But if they said Wakanda, I would have been like, oh man, I need. Okay, we're getting a SoCal pass. Like I need to be at Disneyland. I need anything, whatever.
Exactly.
Like it is just such a good fictional land, but also something that you do love, and they do such a great job for you to understand. Like I said, they do a great job with the wardrobe, with and the look of it, where you want more. And I think that's why, not only because of the film being so well made, which we'll get into later, and also the acting is so good, this movie is so perfect, because this is really, and people are yearning for a sequel, because what we're saying, people love Wakanda. People want to know what the hell are the adventures of Wakanda. And especially with a lot of other things, like Nakia in the comics is a villain. Lupita Nyong'o's character was a love interest and quickly becomes one of the best villains of Black Panther's rogue gallery. And of course, if now that Disney owns Marvel, if they don't put Storm somewhere, because one thing, Storm is my favorite Marvel superhero and my queen. Like I want that, man. I gotta have my I gotta have my Storm Black Panther.
Just as long as they don't cast Beyonce. I don't know. I heard rumors that they were like casting Beyonce for the next Black Panther movie, and I'm just like, really? Like, I mean, nothing against her. She's great and stuff, but it's just like, then I remember Goldmember, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear just like, come on, sugar, what kind of head? It's like, oh god, just stop.
Yeah, I did love though that Angela Bassett's look, because she was like the person forever that was like should have been Storm. She could still play Storm.
Yes, I've always said that.
And her hair, they had the white hair whenever like they're fleeing after the fight with Killmonger, and she looks like, I assume it's intentional, but she looked exactly what she probably would look like as Storm. And I seen that, like, oh damn, why couldn't we got that movie in like 1993 or 5 or whatever, when she was making when Stella got her groove back instead. So
Angela Bassett, believe I just butchered Michael B. Jordan's character by calling him Deathbringer. I think I just let that slide, just trying to be nice. Like, did I just call him Deathbringer and it says his name is Killmonger? Fuck!
I didn't want to be the guy who's like, "Hey, guest, you got it wrong, buddy."
Excuse me, sir, but let me tell. No,
I just completely butchered that. I'm sorry.
It's all good. I want to go back to Angela Bassett and have on the record that Angela Bassett can play anything in anything.
Wait. Who's Angela Bassett?
I said Bassett.
Are you sure? Basket. Okay, we'll see. I'll take your word.
I thought I heard basket too.
I thought I heard a basket.
No, I think maybe my tongue did a weird thing.
I think when you repeated it came out basket. But you're good.
She can play anyone in anything, and she. Oh God, she's awesome. I love her to death. But
I really like the character of Death Basket. Awesome character in this movie. Death Basket, great. Stole the show.
I feel like that's gonna be a Fantastic Four villain soon.
Right.
Stan Lee probably tried that one in the early '60s. He just threw it all the time. There were so many, random,
The thing has been basketed. What are we gonna do? No. Anyway, so
it's a death basket.
And so now moving on from this whole fictional world that people are yearning for more tales of, whatever they're going to do in the sequel or how they're going to continue on now. We now are finding ourselves with royalty lineage, and now with our characters, with Chadwick Boseman playing T'Challa, Black Panther, after the loss of his father, played by the other late John Connie. I think I'm saying his last name right. As King T'Chaka, that we lost in Captain America's Civil War.
Yes.
Horrible movie, but again, and I've said this 1,000 times before in every podcast. Black Panther is the only good part of Civil War, in my opinion, and it's the only thing I cared about in that movie. And yeah, that includes Spider-Man. I said it. And so we have a straight up, royalty of who is on the throne next, with his younger sister of Shuri, who is also, I think, the lead. Okay, I'm confused. I'm really confused with the end of the movie as well. I thought she was always the head of science, and I know that he made her an ambassador, but wouldn't that also carry over because you're still a representative if you're a lead of something in a country?
Yeah.
But before, though, the difference is, before, she was just the head of, essentially, think of it, you're a researcher, you're developing technologies. That's one thing. Now it's also, you're going to be the face of disseminating and sharing this technology. That's different expand. It's essentially, it's expanding your role. And that's what that meant, that she's going to be doing more than just inventing stuff in her lab, and she's going to be out there showing people how to, do these things, use this technology.
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yes.
She literally did that when she walked over to the kids and starts talking to them. She's like, "I wouldn't touch that if I were you," or something like that. She says,
yes, exactly.
The t-shirt right is perfect. And then we have, of course, Queen Ramonda as played by Angela Bassett, and this is the family of the royal family. And now we have come to find out that there was also a brother that was pretty much deceived by T'Chaka, but also was a traitor of some kind, not really even but in the story seen as a traitor, by Nojobu, by Sterling K. Brown, who we see at the beginning, what we're talking about, that you hear at the beginning of the movie talking to his son, which becomes Killmonger, or Eric Killmonger. And so
I think Eric Stevens, then Killmonger, knows his government nickname, but that's significant. But
well, one thing I love about this movie is basically how Wakanda basically becomes divided so quickly. And I guess with this, how do you guys feel about the whole Killmonger versus T'Challa relationship, and where they stand and how they want to execute the future, from the point of, I guess, at the beginning? Because of course T'Challa's mind changes at the end, where he kind of sees, he kind of sees parts of Killmonger's plan, where he's just okay, I can't keep this in Wakanda. This has to go out to the world. And that's why Killmonger still wins in the end, in some degree. But yeah, how do you guys feel about kind of the two different worlds and experiences, and their two different viewpoints?
I would say, although that is true, T'Challa, aka Black Panther, did have that that realization, I have to share this knowledge with the rest of the world so that we can all evolve as a species and stuff, right? And that's great. I think it definitely differs, though, from Killmonger's whole plan, where Killmonger is just I got this technology, fuck around and find out. That's basically what Killmonger was about. It's just I got this technology, therefore I'm gonna put the hammer down now onto every single one of y'all who did me wrong, who did me dirty, and did my people dirty or whatever.
And it's crazy how many people agreed with online. It was this whole thing where everyone's I don't think Killmonger really did anything wrong, and I'm oh fuck, what the fuck,
dude, right?
What are you doing? What are you saying?
There's a lot of people out there for blood. Dang, man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And I think it's tough, and that's why why I'm asking this question is because at first T'Challa wants to keep everything in Wakanda. He agreed with how his father was. He's seen hanging out with, and he saw in Civil War what a lot of power can do, what a lot of technology could do. He wasn't, exactly the biggest fan of what Iron Man kind of was stood for, even though he sided with him. But like, that was the whole thing, was like T'Challa was basically carrying on his father's thoughts. Killmonger was what we were talking about, revenge and essentially chaos. I mean, in a certain degree, basically saying this stuff is not just for Wakanda. You guys kicked my father and I out, so I'm taking what you have and giving it to everybody. It's kind of like a socialist terrorist, or like one of the first times of me seeing one where it's just like, no, this is ours now too. But yeah, so like, how do you guys kind of feel about those two? Maybe I didn't explain the question, but yeah, sorry.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to answer what question you want, but what I'm feeling you're asking is so first of all, I think what JP touched on is important from Civil War, right? In that movie, and you talked about it too, Tyler, that I like the movie significantly more than you, but I agree that the Black Panther is the best thing in that movie because he has the arc. He's the only character that has a real arc because everybody else stays in the same place except for him. In that movie, he when his father passes and he's killed by Zemo, he then wants revenge, but he won't. But then at the end, he won't let vengeance consume him because he's watching everyone else be consumed by seeking this vengeance and this justice. So I think that's why when he goes back to Wakanda, he's a little bit softened. And then Killmonger comes in, and Killmonger is completely driven by that vengeance. And that's why they're the opposite. So it's like he can't listen to Killmonger because of that. It's like what Killmonger is saying is there's some degree of truth in it, not necessarily good or his way of doing it. It's like that whole Professor X Magneto dynamic. They want essentially and fundamentally the same thing, but the different ways of going about it. So you have this dichotomy of these two characters who can't exist, and the problem is they can't hear each other. They can't listen to each other because they're so extremely different. Like T'Challa would have good things to say to Killmonger about where he comes from because he was raised in this world, and just like Killmonger would have good things to say as an outsider. But I think the power of the film is the dynamic of those two characters being so different because of the things they experienced, the tragedy for Killmonger as a child, and then that just festering in him, and then obviously a hard life in Oakland when he grew up like tough and everything was a challenge. And so he sees it as T'Challa, everything was handed to him and he doesn't deserve it. He's not worthy of it. And he literally beats him and proves that he's better than him, at least in that sense physically. But
his plan was very wrong, but like the things that Killmonger would say were very right. Like I just remember watching the museum part and him talking about how it's all stolen artifacts and that they know and everything. It was honestly very powerful, and I was just like, yeah, he's totally fucking right. And then of course he starts killing everybody, and you're like, oh, okay, well, alrighty, maybe.
No, exactly, because you're like, yeah, it's like he's not wrong, but then he just murdered his own girlfriend in in that scene when he killed Claw, because it's like this is more important than that. And it's like, okay, that guy is just so pushed over the edge by it that even when he's right, he can't be right anymore. Like he's right, but he's not just, and that's the problem. And what you have I think with T'Challa, with his word, this is like a very Shakespearean Marvel movie. Is T'Challa is wrong, but he's just. Yeah. And there's a lot about where it talks about like.
But I also think he's too just. Like I was saying, like. He cares way too much about what his father was thought was best for Wakanda, as opposed to seeing what was best for Wakanda.
But he's saying what his father, he thought was father was best based on his father lying to him. That's the difference. And when he realizes his father lies, that's when the blinders can come off and say, okay, it's not just that. But at the same time, the value of the lessons that his father taught him, because there's a point when he talks to his father in the land of his ancestors, and his father says, a man who has prepared his children for his own death has failed as a father. And he says, and then his father says, you're a good man with a good heart, but it's hard for a good man to be king. And T'Challa's like will prove it's like you can be a good man and a king, but you have to be completely honest. because
Yes.
otherwise you will then
I got choked
fall
up.
into that corruption of that lie. Yeah, and it's so
Yes.
powerful because it's that thing where the father, you have the father figures, right? Both of the fathers. Is it what's Killmonger's dad's name? Njoku?
I thought, in Jobu.
Njobu. So Njobu and T'Chaka, right? These two father figures that are, again, they basically believe the same thing and they love each other. You can see that in the scene where they confront each other. They love each other, and yet they can't agree because they can't talk to each other. They can't communicate.
Can't
and I think one of the things I love about the end of the movie is, and throughout the whole movie, the great thing about the Black Panther as a character is he doesn't really say that much, and he listens to other people. And then he speaks, it means more. So he says something, it's more powerful. And he, at the end of the movie, he's mostly listening to Killmonger talking, and he's taking it in. And he offers to that moment where he offers to basically, it's almost like Black Panther at this point is I want my cousin in my life. You're family. I don't want you. But Killmonger is still so driven by that hatred that he can't let that go. Where Black Panther could sort of, it's almost like T'Challa was able to let go of his sort of self-righteousness to accept that my enemy, I can learn from my enemy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
Can I say the worst joke of all time?
All right, go for it.
even with all those scars, the biggest one was in his heart. There we go.
Joke.
But see, the thing is, it's not a joke either.
It's true.
It's 100% true. That's the thing. That's the thing about it.
Yeah, because you can see, exactly what you were saying is because Killmonger just has this tunnel vision where it was just, it's either his way or nothing else. That's it. It's just, this is the way we're doing it, and that's it for sure. And it's true. Yeah, you're right. T'Challa was a leader with an open mind and an open heart and open ears and stuff. And that's, something that's needed. That's definitely something that's needed,
Yeah, and totally. It was funny watching this movie though and seeing it as a reflection of the state of our nation as well as Wakanda as a stand-in when they talk about the borders and literally should they open the borders and help others? Okay, that's powerful right there. When you think about 500 plus kids that are separated from their parents, and they have no idea where their parents are. That's hard stuff. That's real stuff. And the movie can reflect that, a couple years ago. Obviously, it was still going on then, unfortunately. But one of the things in the movie that visually that really reflects that is there's a scene once Killmonger beats T'Challa. And he walks into the throne room, and that shot where it's upside down and it rotates over slowly as he takes the throne and sits down, and it's the world has now been flipped upside down because I am in charge and I'm going to do it. And even the music reflects it. Because when the T'Challa has the theme that's that Black Panther theme, it's the big epic score one, and it's much more symphonic. And then Killmonger has that sort of hip hop inspired theme. It's more down, I wouldn't want to say somber, but less
just
bombastic.
Dark, sinister.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just and it's one thing that we talked about the music a little bit, how an Oscar for Goran Ludvigsen, I think is his name, and the music is another thing that helps build that world in those moments that really you feel
absolutely. It creates this amazing tension. That helps you divide and see the differences between these characters, which I think is why it's such there's so many things to talk about this movie, to so many different angles, so many different questions I could ask you guys. But the thing is that this relationship and these whole ideologies between these two different characters, of one being legacy, lineage, and essentially taking on this whole new role, and then also knowing that he's a superhero as well, with a guy who is just kind of I'm here to preserve my culture that was taken away from me. And exactly what Jason had said, and also hurt everybody who did me wrong, and to prove that I come from something better and I'm taking it away from them too in the process. He's trying to hurt everybody equally, kind of basically being you guys banished me, so I'm gonna take over, take your toys, give it to them so they can destroy and demolish each other too. And like
Yes.
so it's like in the end he's famishing everybody, and it's like it's so scary to me with that. And we've seen movies and villains like this all the time, you know, like with the old, like I hate the movie myself, but the Alan Rickman like Robin Hood movie where it's like, you know, Prince Charles is like this so evil and he's just like, oh, I'm famishing everybody, but I'm king. And it's like, well, yeah, but
Yes.
you're the king of you're like king of trash essentially. Like you're like,
Yeah.
and so I don't know. That's why like the difference is just it's they have the best rivalry in any MCU movie, and I would say
Truly.
honestly, I think that Killmonger takes the best villain spot of any superhero film as well. And I don't know how
Mhm.
you guys feel about that, but like I love Heath Ledger's Joker. I mean, I recently rewatched Dark Knight and have some new thoughts
Mhm.
now that I haven't seen it in a few years. But yeah, I don't know. How do you
Yeah,
guys
he's
feel?
definitely up there. He's definitely up there for sure. I mean, it's just one of his own. It's just one. It just stands alone. Like I said, it's not one of those ones where it's it's not. When you look at it, it's like not one of those villains where it's just like, okay, here we go, another cookie cutter villain and stuff. I mean, one thing that's always great about the Marvel villains is that both the heroes and the villains, you're still able to see their vulnerability in a way, right? That they're always that's the one thing I love about Marvel movies, because it's like they're always showing the characters' imperfections as well, right? And with death, I almost called him Deathbringer again. I almost called him Deathbringer. Son of a bitch. You know what, guys? This is gonna be a long night. This is gonna be a long night. No, with Killmonger's characters, it's like you could see. It's like you had that moment where you really did want to side with him, but at the same time, you're just like, okay, not really, sort of. So, I would say he's definitely up there with a lot of the other villains. I mean, there's some villains where you were just like, no, I don't fuck with this guy. You know, no matter what, it's just like this person is just way too evil for words. I'm not, no, right? And there's just somewhere just like, yeah, yeah, I can see it. I can see that
Yeah.
happening, you know. But yeah,
Well,
he's
and
definitely there.
we should mention quickly though, we haven't mentioned by name Michael B. Jordan, who played Killmonger, just to credit
Yes.
him for his amazing work, because it really is. You know, I always think he's like, you know, he played. He was the best thing in that Fantastic Four movie that wasn't any good as Johnny Storm. I loved him.
Yeah.
I wish that he could have been in a good movie. And it's kind of funny because like he's one of those guys. He's like, oh man, there's probably some great Marvel superhero he could play, but he couldn't do it better than he could because he's that good. But you know, he did this so perfectly well. I'm like, okay, forget that. Just you are this character.
If you're ever
Yes.
cast as Johnny Storm, like that's like a good omen. Like it's like kind of like the Oscar. Once you win an Oscar, then like it's gonna be hard to bounce back from that. But so far, if you're Johnny Storm, you know, hey, like you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be Killmonger, Captain America.
Right.
But
Totally.
no, Michael B. Jordan has been one of my favorite actors since
But and Michael B. Jordan also in Fruitvale Station, real quick,
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
with you know, connecting it back to Ryan Coogler, just to the
And
director
also
who
recently rumored to direct Creed 3, by the way.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I want Michael B. Jordan like to be like the top of Hollywood. Like he's just one of my favorite people, and he's awesome. And also big Dragon Ball Z fan. So I mean, yeah, the guy's perfect.
Yeah.
But anyway, but yeah, no, I just think that he brings this whole character, and no, yeah, he's just amazing. I mean, him and Chadwick Boseman are both just such strong actors and are able to play opposite of each other, and it's so tense when they're in the same room together. You know, no matter what, it's so tense and it's hard because you have one person who, like we were saying, he wants to listen and he wants to be a good leader, and another person who just doesn't care, doesn't want anything of it. And you're just seeing,
Yes.
you know, it's like being in the room when you were like 4 years old and your mom comes in and she's just like, well, I just heard something to your dad, and it's just like, and your dad's just like, what's this about? You know, like one parent is completely confused and the other one's pissed off. It's kind of like seeing that, but like in every single scene.
Yeah.
No, Daddy, stop fighting. No. anyway, so I that's gonna bring me over to my next question, which is gonna go back to the whole culture and with the remaining cast and the different tribes and the whole thing about why this movie is so moving and why it's so relatable is basically different people from different places, from different beliefs and everything, where you have, you know, the people with the bears and the people, it's just God, everything.
The people from Chicago?
Yeah, the people from Chicago.
The people with the bears? Yeah.
The Bears. Yeah, exactly.
M'Baku from the Chicago of Africa. I'm just kidding. No, but like, anyway, I love. I can't
Sorry,
stop.
my bad joke derailed you. I apologize.
It's all. I actually forgot
Usually
my
your bad jokes derail me, so it's just
totally
we take turns derailing each other with bad jokes around here.
And that's what podcasting is all about. But
exactly.
No, I feel like with this movie, one of the strongest things about this movie is essentially just all the side characters as well. Yes, you have two amazing, perfect main characters, but you have all these other characters to essentially bring out this insane story. Because if you put, I try to write down the Black Panther plot, and I'm like, okay, this is a really crazy plot. So many things happening, and it strangely works, and I don't know why. Well, I know why, because Ryan Coogler is an amazing director, and I want him to direct everything. And yeah, I don't even know what my question is thoughts. What do you? I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Jason? What resonates the most with you in this whole world, in this movie?
Oh, geez. In this movie, just the harmony of it all. It's just, you know, just the fact that, how can I put it? For the most part, and I mean, not obviously there had some conflicts here and there and stuff like that, but the way they all eventually came together at the end. I mean, not all. I mean, obviously, you know, Killmonger had his side and stuff. M'Baku had his thing, but even he came through as well at the end, at that last battle, when it was just like, okay, now we're all joining you to you know, because we've got to stop this from happening. Just it was just nice to see just so much harmony in one movie. It just you know, it just
that bromance was strong, man.
Yeah, and you know, and it also felt the bromance, exactly, the bromance, but also the fact that there was no, it was devoid of any and all, like, I mean, stereotypes. You know what I mean? I mean, obviously it showed the culture and everything like that, but it wasn't in a stereotypical way. You know, it was actually really, really refreshing and stuff. And it was, and you know, they showed, and like you said earlier, it made you want to find out more about this new world. It made you really want to. It glued you to your seat. Like, it didn't. I did not take one break from watching that movie. I remember I was zoned right in, you know, and it just held my attention for the full time of the movie. There was no downtime. There was no filler. It felt right, you know, and obviously, you know, as an aspiring artist and stuff like that, it was inspiring to watch me. It's like, holy shit, something like that could be me, you know, you know what I mean? But it was one of those things where it's just like, it was a breath of fresh air, in my opinion. Yeah.
When you were watching the movie and you kind of saw this different representation on completely different cultures, that is not. We don't see, like you said before, we just don't see it in film, and if we do, they barely touch in on it because they're just like, oh, will the broad audience, you know, care, and where this movie is just like, oh, we're going to make you care, and I love it, and how does that? I mean, how did that kind of work with you? I mean, like, God, even in M'Baku's throne room was just like just chills down my spine. It was gorgeous and beautiful, and I wanted to know what every single carving on that wood meant. Like,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah,
How-
exactly. If that were a video game, I would just like walk up to the wall and then go down another tunnel, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, I
It
don't
felt
want
like
to go
something
talk
out
to
of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to M'Baku yet because I don't want to trigger the story so I can explore the rest of the throne room. You know, that kind of thing.
You have a cutscene, and they're just like, "Hero, you need to go over here because we're about to be attacked. You must come right at once." And you're like, "Okay, wait one
It's
second."
like, God damn it, another side mission? Come on.
And then you just zoom in and just wait around. They're like, "Hero, are you coming?" Go, yeah, give me a fucking second. And then
Let me upgrade my character a little bit. Hang on, y'all. Let me take it up to a level 36 here. Come on.
there's a writing in my journal. Oh, can I please read this shit? Like,
I gotta hit the options button.
yeah. I mean, how did that hit you in the movie theater, man? Like, God, this movie.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And it was definitely, yeah, it was done right. I mean, just like you said, it was like, no, you're gonna listen. We're gonna tell you what we're about, and that's it. You know what I mean? It was just like, we're not gonna force it on you, but we are gonna let you know that this is what we are. This is what this movie is about. This is what these people are about. What this world is about, right? And yeah, that was. Yeah, it was done in a perfect way, I think. It felt good to me. I was highly intrigued about the whole thing. Whether or not there's going to be a sequel, I don't know, but you know what, for that moment.
Yeah, there has to be a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to go with this.
Yeah,
you know? I don't know
we'll
what they're
definitely
going to
talk
do.
about that at the end. But yeah, oh man. But yeah,
Sort of backtracking a little bit, sort of still wrapping my way around this question, kind of to what Tyler initially asked. Though I think the way,
sorry.
yeah, no, totally fine. Why it works is, first of all, the story is essentially Hamlet. You know, you have a king, and like there's the king dies, and the new king takes over, and then a usurper comes in. That's Hamlet, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And there's these family dynamics, and that's why it fundamentally works. It's like, okay, you go to the well of great storytellers in Shakespeare. There's things that have been done in Shakespeare that are constantly done because they work as stories. But then, like with all the things you talked about with the world building, and one of the things that Tyler got to was all the secondary characters. And especially the strong female characters really are impressive. But it's kind of that one of those things, like I mentioned the thing where Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige were talking about how it's like a movie that starts out intentionally black and becomes incidentally black. You know, it happens to be it by the end of it. And it's the same thing with the female characters. You know, when you see them, it's like, oh, that's a woman. But then as you watch the movie, it's just a person with emotions and struggles and power and strength and weakness and passion and like just like anybody else. And those characters really, like you said, those secondary characters really help elevate the movie, because as great as Chadwick Boseman is, you don't necessarily want to watch him for every minute of a 2-hour movie. So you have these great secondary characters who can fill in those little gaps and really add things to it, but also using them to illuminate his character and propel this singular story forward. And then,
yes,
you know, I think one thing that's also not insignificant is, before I get to the next thing, is also then at the end battle, it's really cool because everybody has something to do. Like everybody, and a unique thing to do that's like unique to their skill set, and it's like very strategic. And a lot of times in comic book movies, and there's like a big battle at the end, it's just like a whole lot of nonsense. Like, as much as I love Avengers Endgame and I love the moment when the all the females stand there together, then that's it. It's like, what was the point? It was really cool, but it's not paid off. Truly, you know, they don't like do any. It's just like, let's stand together, which is cool, but it doesn't pay off. Here, it like pays off very specifically. And but one of the really important things is you have a bunch of people in this movie that's just a great movie that's unbelievably well acted, performed, on every single level is just great. And one guy looks like me. And the funny thing is, I looked at the poster for this a long time ago, and I'm like, I saw it and I'm like, oh, Morgan Freeman. I didn't realize I missed him. Like, I saw it like after the fact. It was Martin Freeman who plays Everett Ross, who's like the one, like, you know, like white dude of significance in this movie.
You saw the name. I thought
I saw the name. I saw the name.
Like Morgan Freeman.
I saw the name and I'm like,
he made any glasses.
No, exactly. I saw the name and I just, you know, read it quickly and I'm like, I didn't realize Morgan Freeman was in this. And like, that was my thing. I'm like, oh, it's Martin Freeman, you idiot. Like a second later, it caught up with me. But that's And really, his role in this movie is it's almost incidental that he's white. It's just that he's the tie to the Marvel universe. That's really what it is. It's like, okay, you were in the other Marvel movie.
Yeah,
we need you to remind everybody that this is part of the Marvel universe here, and that's why you're here. But then they still give him something to do within that. It's not just like generic. Like you could, like, this is one of the few Marvel movies that you could absolutely watch without having seen anything else.
Yes.
Like, it stands on its own really well, and not all Marvel movies do. Most of them don't. Particularly the sequels don't. Like, sometimes the first ones do, but particularly the sequels really don't. But this one really strongly stands on its own. I think that's by the power of it. That's why it did so well too. Like, we're talking about. I think it made like $1.3 billion, right? That tells you that it's not just people of color going to see it. Sure, those people went, but it's people that like me that want to see something different. You know what I mean? Like, they don't necessarily that's necessarily like, oh, it has to be a movie with a certain type of racial cast. But like, even like the movie Crazy Rich Asians is another example. I didn't care for that movie, but it's not for me. But it's just a good movie of that genre that happens to be Asian. It's kind of a similar thing with this movie. It's like, just make a good movie, and then whatever the context and the setting, the people should look like they should look like. And yes. I think that's the point. And I think this movie just executed that perfectly, because if you have a movie set in, the heart of Africa, it's going to look like this. And they pulled it off really well. And kind of the next sort of part of my rambling is the real cool significance of it for me. I've mentioned this when we did the Black Lives Matter episode. Like, I have a niece who is adopted from Ethiopia. And I have a sister-in-law, a different brother. My sister-in-law is from Gabon in Africa. And so my nephew is not just part black; he is part African, and my niece as well. But he, like, for me, being such a comic book fan, like, it's important that he has a Black Panther, that he has a Black Panther in comics, that he has a Black Panther in cinema. For me to know that he has someone, like, I've always been a Spider-Man guy. I've always had Spider-Man, and he takes off that mask. He's a white dude that looks like me, and I'm glad that he has that too. And that's part of why that tragedy of Chadwick Boseman's passing is so, like, heavy for, like, there's a ton of kids. So, and then my other connection with it is my other nephew, who is white as white can be. He is blonde, blue eyes, white kid to my other brother. And I made him, I make collages out of comic books, right? Just for a hobby. And I made him one. It was Spider-Man, because that's my favorite character. When he gets it, he says, "Can you make me another one? I want Black Panther. He's my favorite superhero." And like, that really impacted me a lot when I thought that little kid, that little super white little kid.
Your response is, "No, he's mine. Sorry." Like,
I'm keeping that one. But that was like where it was really cool, where it was like, okay, it can transcend sort of what we conceive it to be too. We always have these, like, representation is important, but I think that's where that level, it transcends that need for representation. It's just like, sure, we need to show people because there's people that look different out there. But when my super white nephew asked for the Black Panther character, when I gave him a Spider-Man thinking, oh, he's going to love Spider-Man, that was like, oh, okay, wow. That's why this matters. That he can look at that, he's like 6 years old, and he can grow up, and his favorite superhero from day one is Black Panther. That is important too. So
yes,
I'm weird. I hate history. I just don't like. I feel in my mind that history is full of idiots who are wrong, and it's for the future for us to know what's right and to be better. And so, like, sure. I hate reflecting on the past. I will say this is the only movie I have ever seen that made me want to look into the past and learn more about the history. Because again, this movie is laced with not only, like, parts of history of Africa in certain parts, especially with some dialogue, and especially when in the when T'Challa's sitting on the throne and they're talking about current affairs. Like, it's very impactful, and it's really awesome if you listen and as to what they're saying. But I started like learning more about African folklore, like the generic ones, the ones that kind of like that travel through a lot of the different regions and countries that, of course, are always changed, here and there. It's kind of like a lot of our own stuff out here in America, and it's like but I kind of dove into it and just started learning like all the stuff, and I've got to say like because of this movie, it's so inspiring. Like I love like African like lore, but like it's because whenever I think of old like horror, why can't I think of it? Not tall tales. Like what's a horror version of a tall tale? What are they called? Not fable. Like it's stuff that you say like in the campfire and stuff like that. Like old
folklore.
like evil folk. Anyways, let's call it evil folklore because like
evil folklore. We'll stick with that.
Evil folklore. There's some great evil folklore about Death Basket that you guys should check out.
Yeah, exactly. But like I love like because I have always loved like Japanese evil evil folklore of like like the old like the old painting ladies and stuff like that, and ghost stories and stuff like that. Africa has probably some of the coolest ones in the world, and that I love reading and knowing about today. And there is one actually about a woman who made baskets who passed away and would basically travel and capture people in baskets. And it's really cool. It's actually real. That is a real, absolute evil fable in Africa. And I wouldn't have known any of this stuff because this movie made me want to get into it. I don't even care about American folklore at all because it's like Sasquatch. And you're like, okay. And I'm done for today because I'm not diving into that shitty rabbit hole. Sorry. Shaded America, I guess. I don't know, too soon. Anyway, so yeah, this movie is so impactful. Like everything about this movie. Like I wanted to know more about Africa more than I've never felt from any other film before. And that's just something I want to kind of touch on. The last thing I want to talk about, I guess. Oh, did anybody else have anything else to say? I'm so sorry.
Because we're good. We're on track, man.
Yeah, perfect. So my last question for you guys today is essentially we have a strong cast, strong characters, strong world now, and that we do want more of. We have Nakia, and then Okoye. Is that how you say it? I thought it was Okoye. She's awesome.
I'm wrong. So
and Shuri, who is now out in the world. What do you kind of want to see in a sequel of this film? Like I don't, now that we've lost our king, our T'Challa, it's crazy because never has there been a movie where I've always wanted a sequel, but I've never been yearning for one. And I think Black Panther not only made me yearn for history, but it made me yearn for a future, and which unlike any other film ever has done now. Like I even after watching Avengers, I never was just like, oh God, like I need this next movie. Avengers was just like, oh, I'm done, I'm spent. Oh, whatever comes. Oh God, I need a towel. And
exactly. And I just
yeah, I need a towel in a bathroom, please.
Yeah, I need a priest. But like this movie, I was just like, that's it. Like I just watched this perfect finale of a film of Killmonger dying watching the sunset, and like it was just this perfect ending, and I was still just like, that's it. No, you can't be. No, like I want more now.
You want more? Yeah.
Like what the hell? And this movie, like. It's I don't know how else is. What do you guys expect? What do you guys want? Like, did you guys feel the same? Like that?
I definitely want a sequel for sure. I just don't. I'm not sure where they're gonna go, which direction they're gonna go. It's because, like I said, the whole. I mean, losing Chadwick Boseman was just so.
Do you think he's replaceable?
I don't know. It's almost like Heath Ledger in a way, because it's just like they tried with like Jared Leto, a Joker, and it's just like, no, let's never do that again. And it was just, I'm sorry, Heath Ledger knocked it out of the park. And when I think about Chadwick Boseman now, it's like, how do you do it? Like, what direction do you go? Like, how are they gonna? I mean, do they do a prequel? Like, but then again, they can't do a prequel anyway. I mean, it's just, I mean, I do want to see how it merges with the rest of the world. I do want to see, you know, because that was one of the scenes after the credits, right? Like during the credits, where they were actually revealing themselves and revealing their stuff. They were starting to reveal all their tech to the rest of the world. They were starting to open up. So I do definitely want to see how that all pans out, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be some who try to take it into the, you know, there's going to be some who the power falls into the wrong hands or whatever like that. But it's, you know, but at the same time, I just want to know how, I want to see how they're going to make that happen. I really do. As for, geez, I just can't stop thinking about, you know, like, how do we, who do we make the next Black Panther, if that's even possible? Or do they find a way to maybe pass down the power to his sister, maybe to his love? I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with it. I really,
Yeah, like before I jump on that, just going back to what JP said about the technology part. You know, when they are sort of they're gonna start introducing it to the world. I think from a Marvel Universe kind of thing, that's one cool aspect, because there's a technology void with Tony Stark dead. So you need like your technology guru, and obviously you have a character that can now do that now. So it's kind of fitting. The rights for the Fantastic Four aside, because they probably didn't quite have that in the forefront when they planned this out. But I think that's cool that you have and I've even heard like, you know, it was even maybe the Russos are like, well, who's the smartest person in the Marvel universe? And they're like, oh, it's Shuri. It's her. She's the smartest one. She's smarter than Tony.
right.
Like that was the kind of thing. But in terms of what you do, like, you know, I approach when I think about these movies, we always talk about, you know, I'm a writer, so I approach it as a writer. And when I think about this, I can't even like get my head around it. And all I can think is I do not envy anyone that has to then do whatever it is they do, because I feel like almost like no matter what you do feels like the wrong decision, because you got to go forward. You're going to go forward. You're going to make more movies that are Black Panther, whatever that looks like, because $1.3 billion. It's, you know,
not only
it's,
that,
the show must go on.
That's the other thing. Like somebody brought up to me was just like, just because Chadwick's gone, like there are kids who want Black Panther still, and there are kids who are impacted by Black Panther that need Black Panther. Yes, it sucks, and it's like it's gonna be hard, of course, to be like, hey, he's no longer around because, or he looks different because of this. But it's like T'Challa has become a symbol for so many, and yeah,
exactly. And no, like when I talked about my nephew, right? That's a little kid. He's 6. He doesn't understand. You know, I'm from Pennsylvania, where he lives, and I live in Southern California now. And he doesn't get why I can't just come over and visit. He's not going to grasp that that person that played that part is dead. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like for him, it's easier to grasp that they look different, but it's still the Black Panther.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And not that that's the way to go, and I wouldn't even begin to speculate, but just from that perspective, it's different. And like, I think that the people that are making these decisions have to weigh all these things. And it's so much.
I'm so happy I'm not like an uncle or anything like that. Or like luckily I don't have kids, and hopefully never will. And like I don't have to like explain to him as to why he's gone, because I can go all the time and talk about all these other actors who passed away, but once they're just like, why does Black Panther look different? I go, okay, wait 1 second. Okay, little shit. Like, okay, wait 1 second. All right,
so,
1 second.
Today, for example, you know, it's as we record this, it's still like Halloween time, and even though it'll release, you know, after that. And my wife Judy was trying to explain to my daughter today, who is not quite 4 years old, what a tombstone is. And like she couldn't find a way to like say, it's like, oh, that's for people that are like buried when they're dead. Like it's like, how do you? Because Penny's like, well, what is that for? Because she loves Halloween and she loves the decorations. Like, what is that for? Because, you know, a vampire is like, it's just a monster that's made. It's like, but what's a tomb? Explain to a kid a tombstone now.
Exactly.
And Judy's like trying to like come up with words, and then she's like, and I'm like, well, that's worse. And she's like, well, what do you have? I'm like, I have nothing better than that. You know, which kind of reflects on what to do with this movie. Like, whatever solution is, like, I'm going to have nothing better, because it's such a hard thing, because it's where, you know, again, this is art and commerce. Films are art and commerce at their finest, I think, and yet it's real life too, man, because these are people that make these things. There are people that write them, people that direct them, people that design those sets. Tons and tons and tons of more people, like, you know, those below the line people that build those sets, that do all the CGI. You know, the reason that these movie credits are 9 hours long and we have to wait forever to get to the end post credit sequence is because all those people that's trucking away, that, you know, aren't making that much money, just making a living doing the special effects and whatnot and catering and all these other jobs that are just real jobs in Hollywood or in Atlanta, probably where they film a lot of these Marvel movies these days. But that's where it's like, you think about it, it's like, you know, someone that worked on the movies is just passed, is dead. That's where real life really comes in a hard way.
It wasn't even just it's just somebody on the movie. It was just like a king, he just became a king in just like real life. Like, honestly, if they were to be like leaders of the world, you know, like, I'm not gonna say ours, but, you know, we have like this person from Germany and like all these other countries, and then Chadwick Boseman of Hollywood. Like, I would be like, yep, he's up there. He's a world leader to me.
Yes.
And like I said, like, yeah, it's just like explaining how Santa Claus isn't real now is like a cakewalk. It's like a brush off the shoulder. You're like, oh yeah, he's not real because I lied to you. Black Panther doesn't look like that because I'm dead inside and I don't know how to answer this question. And just go over there and play with your Legos.
Exactly.
Daddy needs to down a half bottle of Jim Beam, and I'll be right back. No. Anyway, I'm so sorry.
No, don't say it.
But yeah, I don't want Shuri to be Black Panther, not because I don't think she deserves it, because if anything, she does deserve it. It's just they set her up for this awesome role. She has this awesome role, and I want to see her live it through. Like, I want to see her be this badass scientist just telling it. I want to see that scene of like her and Hank Pym, and if Reed Richards comes in and they're just like, yeah, we're going to be doing the smart shit. And she's just like, oh, you think that's smart? Absolutely fucking not. She's like, move aside.
Exactly.
And like, I want, I want those scenes of her being strong, because like fighting crime is not strength. Being diplomatic and finding other alternatives and being and something that we learned from Black Panther is just like growing and finding another way is best. And like, you know, all the fighting with Killmonger, kind of like what you both were saying earlier, was like, we were talking about the dynamic between the two. It's like, if they had just listened to each other, or just if Killmonger was just a little bit more open-minded and was just like, and was there to just talk to T'Challa as opposed to dethrone him and then just take over and essentially hurt himself more than anything. Like, you know, he weakened himself in the process. Like, Letitia writes, you know, Shuri would essentially be this, like, in my opinion, the absolute strongest person in the MCU, being this ambassador of science and being the sole person to pave the world into a new age of technology, science, technology, medicine, and peacefulness. And to me, her being in a suit and fighting people now is like that. I'm sorry, but Black Panther is not. It's beneath her now. I feel like the role of Black Panther is beneath Shuri. Shuri is the future. Black Panther is the justice, and is a justice and not a mascot. That's totally wrong, because the king is still the ruler. But maybe like
a catalyst, maybe.
Yeah, that's perfect. You are totally right.
I mean?
Black Panther is a catalyst. She is the future. She is what, like, and like I said, I just think that being in the suit would be so beneath her. I would be very interested in seeing Nakia take the role, and then you see her turn evil, and she slowly becomes kind of like Killmonger, and so then it becomes Wakanda versus its king.
Ooh.
Like, you know, as opposed to them divided, it's just like, it's like, oh no, the king is evil, and like and Nakia becomes this awesome villain as she is in the comics. So I don't know. But I honestly think the best thing to do is to recast, give these children that finally, like, you know, and that's the thing is like I've heard
I'll
it
say,
so many
yeah,
times of people just being like this, like, I mean, like, oh my god, the statuses of seeing the Raya and the Emerald Dragon on my Facebook wall, people being like, this character looks like me and she's amazing. Um, I have so many Asian friends from, you know, South Pacific, right? It's the South Pacific part of Asia, and they're just like, I finally get like a Disney princess that, you know, just that part of Asia. There, everybody is just like, oh, you have Mulan. It's like, well, no, she's nothing like me. Like that's like us, you know, it's like me being compared to somebody from South America. It's like completely different cultures, completely different languages, completely different everything. Like almost everything.
Absolutely.
The only thing that probably, like, you know, that keeps us together are memes at this point. Like we have nothing else in common, and like, and so, and like that's the thing with Black Panther is like I have so many friends who is just sparked in their kids or like people that or kids that they know, and it's just Black Panther is just, it's so, T'Challa is so important, and I think still like one of the most important figures in film,
Yeah.
and is driving, hopefully, you know, Hollywood into becoming more diverse and you know, and representative of different things, because I'm tired of seeing the same thing. I'm like, I'll just be straight. I'm so tired of white stories. I'm so fucking tired of it. I'm so tired of seeing movies with white saviors and all this other bullshit and exploitation.
Right.
I want a movie with heart. I want a movie with different cultures, and finally seeing something that makes people happy to go see a movie and feel
Yes.
powerful and empowered. That's what I want, and that's why like I love
For sure.
But yeah, anyways,
regardless of what they do, like I think that for me, what from a sort of a fan perspective, where I'm just saddest is that I, you know, as a viewer, as a fan of the comics and a fan of the Chadwick Boseman, I just so badly wanted to see him leading the Avengers.
yeah,
I wanted to see that
Yeah.
too,
and they said he was going to.
you know, and they set it up with in the most beautiful moment when he, you know, there's a reason that Chadwick and as Black Panther is the first person you see, even though you hear Falcon first person you see come through those portals in Endgame is him. That's the moment where he's, you know, he's the future leader, you know,
Yeah,
and that's what I wanted to see, the different version of the Avengers, because I think Captain America's character is kind of one who leads because he has to. He's not necessarily a great leader, but he tries to be a great leader.
Right.
He's like, well, you thawed me out. I might as well.
Yeah, Black Panther, but and it's the same. But Black Panther is a great leader because he's a great leader. He leads or I should say, he leads because he's a great leader. That's the nature of his character.
He doesn't deserve the Avengers. The Avengers deserve. No, wait, no, the Avengers. Yeah. Sorry, the Avengers doesn't deserve him. He deserves. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that he's way better than the Avengers. Is what I'm trying to say. It's late.
It is, but you know, that's what I think. You know, I'm like sort of the grieving fan in me. You know, just that I would want to see him fulfill that. But just for the perspective of the bigger things than all of us, I want to see somebody do that. You know, and I guess it's unfortunate and it's tragic and it's sad that it can't be Chadwick Boseman, but I want to see the Black Panther lead the Avengers.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, you know, and it's like it's got to be someone else.
I don't want I don't want
it to be, but
and
I feel bad for that actor because, you know, no matter who it is, no matter what they do, it's like what would Chadwick could have done?
Yes, you know, exactly. They're always going to have that. They're always going to be in that position of, okay, now you've got some big shoes to fill. What can you do with this now? Like, this is the bar. Can you raise the bar? Because if not, we don't want to hear about it. That's almost
totally
the position they're in now.
And it's like almost unfair. So, and you just have to have someone who can just say, I don't care, and just go at it, and, you know, just be fearless.
If they cast Jared Leto, I'm walking out of the theater. I'm like, Jared Leto as King T'Challa. I'm like, fuck Hollywood. This is bullshit. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure Scarlett Johansson's got. I'm kidding. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. That was a really mess. Okay, no. I
don't even think that qualifies as a joke.
I've always been of the mind where especially when with these with stuff like this, where it's a possible sequel, I've always been sort of like, okay, I'm gonna take the back seat and I'm gonna see what you guys do with it. I'm gonna see what y'all do with it. Let's see where you take this story, and that's it. I don't, like I said, I don't know, because this is a tough one to this. It's very difficult to see where they're going to go with this.
Like, Marvel has recasted before. I mean, and nobody cried about Edward Norton. The Terrence Howard one,
Spider-Mans they've had, yeah, exactly,
yeah, right. Like the Terrence Howard one was kind of, I was like, man, Terrence Howard did great, but then they said then they said Don Cheadle's name, and I was like, oh, Terrence who?
Thank you, yeah, exactly. I was like, thank you. This is what we needed,
Yeah, it's just, this is a whole thing. Like, and that's why I wanted to ask this question, because usually we don't talk about the future. We don't talk about this on Popmosis, but like, this is a testament of like Chadwick Boseman. Not only was he the perfect T'Challa, he was such a great actor and so impactful in Hollywood.
Yeah.
42 is fantastic. I love his performance in Get On Up. Oh my God, I think he was better than Joaquin Phoenix in Walk in the Line. Like,
Seriously, huh?
Really, his performance was so good.
I have to check that out.
No, it's great. And that's the thing, like when you see those movies, like, and I saw a Chadwick Boseman talking about it. He talked about, playing Thurgood Marshall, playing Jackie Robinson, playing James Brown. Yeah, thank you. Like, which one? How that impacted even how it all came together in T'Challa. And there was a quote from it was Paul Rudd talking about it. He said, to play someone like that, like to play an individual like that, you have to. Those are people who possess grace, and you can't. He's like, when you do it multiple times, you can't act grace. The Paul Rudd was like, you can't act that. You have to have it, and that's what he had. And that's why we're speculating a little bit. We like Tyler said, we're not one, especially me. I'm never one to speculate on this podcast. I hate to do that. I just don't like to do it. But you have to in this instance, because what is there? Like, I mean, like, there's going to be some kind of change. It's inevitable, and that's what I don't.
In a movie where the future is such a big deal, where we haven't experienced that before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have that big question that's hanging out there, so you have to, address it. And even, our little podcast is one of, our discussion about it is just, it's, I think we're just like, you see the challenge of that decision, because the things that like we brought up, like Tyler brought up, like those little kids, how they view the Black Panther as their hero. They don't know who Chadwick Boseman is, they like, I didn't, when I was that age, I wouldn't have known who. I didn't know who, when I was a little kid. I didn't know Christopher Reeve. I knew him as Superman. He was Superman for me before he was Christopher Reeve.
When I was a kid, I had no idea that Val Kilmer and Michael Keaton were completely different people.
Yeah, and let's not talk about George Clooney as Batman. Let's never do that again.
That's when George Clooney is when we all grew up a little bit and realized movies are fake. Our heroes aren't what we thought they were. That's George Clooney. That's what George Clooney is.
I know he's the best Batman, right? No.
But he's not even the best doctor on ER. So.
I actually kind of like George. Never mind.
No, I like George Clooney. I think George Clooney is a gifted actor. Don't get me wrong. In the right circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also a talented director. Good Night, Good Luck, which he directed, is a brilliant film.
Yeah. So I just want to. No, you're totally fine. I just want to end the podcast with just final thoughts of Black Panther from you guys, and then we'll get some plugs.
Final thoughts on Black Panther, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Brilliant. It was just brilliant. I don't really know what else to say beyond that. And yeah, just like I said, how do you top that? Where do you go from there? It's just so many questions now, and it's tough. And it's tough because yeah, you feel that sort of heaviness when you realize, damn, we lost this guy, and it's like, what do we do? We'll see.
Yeah,
we will see where they go with. What they do with it. I'm hoping that it will be something that that's even better than the first. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a tough one.
It is so tough to talk about. Like,
and that's
I'm
just tough
trying to not choke up talking about it too.
That's just
Yeah.
tough to think about it because the first movie is just so good as a movie that you have to
Mhm.
like top it as a movie, let alone the sort of the albatross of Chadwick Boseman's passing. For me, the final thoughts are, so when I was watching it, I just watched it yesterday, and it was nice because it was one of the, like, we watch a lot of movies on here. Well, you know, we run the gamut, but a lot of it's stuff that I won't want to watch with my kids in the room. So this is one I could watch with my kids in the room. It's, you know, it's not, certainly not a movie for a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, but I don't, you know, I'm not like, oh my God, I wish I didn't see that. So, but as I'm watching it, my daughter,
that's Iron Man 3, where you're just like, don't ever watch this ever.
Hey, you know, I'm related to the writer director of that.
That's true.
So never met him, but so anyway, as we're watching it, my little my little one Primrose, she is just turned 1 year old, and as some of the music was playing, like, she's dancing in the room, and I just, like, funny watching her dance as I watch this, because it's just like this very, you know, organic, real reaction to the movie. She has no idea what's going on. She's not even looking at the screen, but she starts bouncing to this music, just a little person bouncing to it. And then, you know, as I'm watching the movie, what really struck me this time was the beginning of the movie. It's about a son grieving his father as he returns to his home. And it was really powerful watching it, and I actually started to cry because I was just thinking about the fact that and the power of Chadwick Boseman's performance and the grace that he does have or had, unfortunately, as a human, just really comes through in that emotion. And like, I'm watching him grieve as I grieve him.
Right.
And that was where it really caught me, as something powerful and different. And like I said, I started to cry, like, for that. And I was crying, like, you know, like in the, you know, or the early stuff where it doesn't get real, like, heavy and dramatic quite yet. Yeah. But that really was what caught me. Like, I'm watching a man, you know, it's a performance of him, but he's grieving as I grieve him. And that was just a unique thing for me to see this movie. So, but it was good to revisit it. First time, like I said, that I've watched it since he passed, and it just holds up as a great movie. And all the other things we said, it's a great movie. It's a truly great movie, and it's probably the highest. It's not my favorite Marvel movie. I love Winter Soldier because, like, the sort of spy espionage side of it, that's my favorite. And
it's that political thriller, which is amazing.
Like, it's like this, it's the 70s style, like 3 Days of the Condor or Parallax View, those kind of movies. But
for me, I compared to Manchurian Candidate for some reason.
And Thor Ragnarok is, like Tyler said, that's probably the most fun. So it's like the joy of it, and maybe the first Guardians, a similar kind of thing. Just the joy of those movies. But this is probably the best movie of all the Marvel movies. I mean, there's a reason it got nominated rightly for an Academy Award. So
it's kind of like what we talked about, like, on an earlier podcast, where it was like with me with Tim Burton, like I think Big Fish is his masterpiece, but Ed Wood is my favorite movie of his.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else to say besides I love Black Panther. It's amazing. It is the coolest. It is the best fictional world use and film where it engulfs you and you want to know and be there. Like, you know, I watch Lord of the Rings. I don't want to be anywhere of those places. You see the Prancing Pony. I'm like, thank God there's no places like this I know of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and then like you watch Game of Thrones and you're just like, oh fuck no. Like
absolutely.
You're like, I'm going to the Prancing Pony. Where's the Prancing Pony now?
Yeah,
right? Go there now.
Like Wakanda.
And you're watching Lord of the Rings, you're like, why is everything a brothel? I don't understand.
Right? Yeah. And they're all dwarves. But yeah, it's this movie is awesome. Chadwick Boseman is a king.
Yes.
This cast is amazing. The cultural, like, this movie made me open my mind more to the history of a different place I don't live in, even though I don't really care about the history of my own, unless, like, I need to learn something from it for the future. This opened my mind. This inspired me, and I want to make sure that we learn, that Hollywood and that people learn from it as well. Not even just like, the message of it, but more of just like what it represents. And that's my final piece about this movie. JP, where can they find you and everything? Give us all of your plugs.
Yeah, all right, cool. Well, find me on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, JAYP Brown 365. Look for my website, jaypbrown.com. Join the mailing list if you like. That way you can find out where my shows are and where I'm performing at and blah, 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 blah. If we ever get past this chaos called this pandemic and stuff. So find me on Twitch, same thing, same handle. And I'll keep you all posted.
Perfect. And all the links will be in the article on the website. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be found in the in the whatever it's called, the
Description.
thing. The description.
Word. In the description.
Word. And also the word I was trying to think of was lore. Lore. What I was
Lore.
thinking
Or
of.
like
There
folklore?
we go. There we go.
Yeah, I said half of it.
Or fairy tale, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Evil fairy tales. Evil folklore.
Evil folklore.
I'm gonna
We
get
have
my
to point with a crooked finger.
I know, right?
Evil folklore. It's like, are you pointing at my crotch right now?
Let me tell you some evil folklore, traveler.
It's like, do you need some arthritic medicine or anything? I can help you with that, bro.
Yeah.
I feel like I typed too much at my computer. Like,
Yeah.
This damn carpal tunnel syndrome.
Here's some ibuprofen. All right, Josiah, where can they find Josiah is Right?
you can find me at Josiah is Right, WRITE, as in Josiah is Right as a writer. Find me on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter, which I don't use Twitter much, but Twitter's like the stuff I post on Instagram kind of thing. I kind of forget I have Twitter, but I do have Twitter, and I hope to use it more. I just don't remember that it exists. But for sure, YouTube, I'm trying to keep up content there, new stuff very soon. I'm working on, which will be out when you guys hear this, a video about Resident Evil, George Romero's Resident Evil, and what happened to that. So I'm going to be posting that before you even hear this. So go find that video. It'll be really cool, really awesome. A lot of cool insight there. And so Josiah is Right. And also, so if you subscribe to me on YouTube and subscribe to the Grand Geek Gathering on YouTube, you could be entered to win. You will be entered to win either a Popmosis shirt, a Gathering shirt, or a Josiah is Right t-shirt. So please enter our t-shirt contest. It could be a wet one if you want to. Like,
sweet, I'm totally there. I'm there.
So we'll hose you down. This isn't like dudes only, because I want to see your pecs. But yeah, so subscribe to our channels, and you can get a free t-shirt. Please just share that we're here and what we're doing. We love to just talk about movies. It's awesome to have we missed Paul tonight, but it was awesome to have JP fill in for Paul when Paul couldn't be here, and we could talk about a movie that's just really cool. And we do this like every 2 weeks. We have a new one of these for you guys.
And absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Again, all the links will be in the article or the description on YouTube. Y'all have a fantastic night. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening in. You can check out all of our shows and offerings on any podcast app, or go to our website directly at thegrandgeekgathering.com for our other articles, our other podcasts, videos, and so much more. Check out our YouTube for our Let's Play videos and other podcasts and other weird discussions that we have, especially about gaming, and our Grand Geek Eatery cooking show. And also, don't forget that I stream on Twitch. I hope you have a fantastic night. Our music has been provided by Carlisle Laurent. Have a wonderful week. Wear a mask, and GGG. And Wakanda forever.
What's on the silver screen? I got some takes you wouldn't believe. Popmosis Film. Grand Geek Gathering.